It's almost more chilling that we don't know what happened to her.
Definitely.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most unsettling and unexplainable historical findings.
From False Creek to Richmond to the Gulf Islands, the feat made headlines and prompted wild theories about their origins.
Number 30, Book of the Dead, Egypt. Many cultures believe in an afterlife. Ancient Egypt was no exception.
In ancient Egypt, life doesn't end with death. In fact, the ancient Egyptians believed that death was just the beginning of a long and arduous journey. A journey that could end with salvation or annihilation.
The Book of the Dead has mystified since the Middle Ages. It was initially believed that the book was made up of all-encompassing religious texts, but their purpose was much darker. They supposedly helped deceased souls on their journey to the afterlife and were filled with spells that would help them take on horrific entities along the way.
The ancient Egyptians visualized many challenges waiting for them in the afterlife. One of the most important was to successfully undergo this judgment before the tribunal of Osiris and be found worthy to become one of the blessed dead.
Nearly 200 incantations have been identified, but that only scratches the surface. The origins of this practice and why it was stopped are still a mystery. Many surviving texts are still being translated, meaning more secrets about this morbid preparatory practice could be revealed. Number 29, Crystal Skulls, Mesoamerica or Europe. No, they aren't just from Indiana Jones.
Imagine what they could tell us.
I can't imagine. Neither could the humans that built this temple, and neither can you.
Belief, Dr. Jones, is a gift you have yet to receive.
If you walk into a noteworthy museum, there's a chance you'll see a real anatomically accurate human skull carved in clear quartz, also known as rock crystal. While researchers often attribute these artifacts to craftsmen in Europe during the 20th century, the strange handiwork has created an enduring mysticism around the skulls. Based on which legend you believe, they can be Aztec, Mayan, or even otherworldly.
That one day 13 such skulls will come together as one to solve some of the great mysteries of life. But only if we are morally and spiritually ready to receive them.
The fact that skulls have become staples in certain sci-fi media only further blurs their origins. Even if you don't buy that they're from ancient civilizations, the murkiness around their creation still makes you wonder. Number 28, 78,000-year-old burial site, Pangaya Saidi, Kenya. The Pangaya Saidi excavation site has been home to several archaeological discoveries. One of the most recent was the 2021 discovery of a 78,000-year-old grave containing the remains of a deceased toddler.
Initially, we thought it was just another primate and that is it, or a monkey. But then when we brought it here in the lab, is when they actually cleaned and they found the first tooth.
It's unknown who the child was or why they were given an intentional burial, although it suggests to some that the death of a child held special meaning in the community. Whether the entire community participated in mourning or whether it was limited is also unknown. It also raises questions about whether the funeral rites came as an instinct or if they had been taught by an outside group.
The fact that there was a funerary rite sheds new light on the emotional life of early Homo sapiens.
Regardless, it's eerie proof that our ancestors were more similar to us than we thought. Number 27, headless bodies in mass grave, Wrocław, Slovakia. The causes of horrific acts that occurred centuries ago are left to speculation. This was the case with a gruesome 2022 discovery in Wrocław, where a large pit filled with dozens of corpses was found. All but one had been decapitated, and the skulls were nowhere to be found. The remains date back 7,000 years, but beyond that, no answers have been found. Some believe it was a sudden massacre, while others posit that it was a site where headhunters disposed of bodies. One expert has even suggested it was done to help fortify the area. It also is possible that some died of natural causes before being beheaded. The truth may never be known. Number 26, skull-shaped death whistles, Mexico City, Mexico. Imagine making your way through an unknown land only to hear a symphony of inhuman noises. In some cases, it could have been the last thing you ever heard. Those sounds were produced by skull-shaped instruments now known as death whistles. They were first found in the 1990s when one was discovered being held by a victim of human sacrifice. This has led to speculation that they were used to prepare people for their brutal demise. Others have claimed that they were used during warfare, likely as a way of disorienting their opponents.
You can imagine the frightening sound if you had 200 or 300 or 5,000 warriors blowing these instruments and drums and trumpets as they were advancing. That would be extremely intimidating.
One study indicates that the sounds they emitted were designed to be as terrifying as possible. So while it's unclear what they were used for, it seems doubtful it was for anything peaceful. Number 25, coffin birth from the trepanated woman, Imola, Italy. A 2010 discovery in Italy revealed multiple medical mysteries in one person. A corpse of a young woman from the Middle Ages appeared to have experienced coffin birth, a phenomenon wherein a decomposing body expels a fetus. She also had a hole drilled into her skull. The practice known as trepanation still baffles scientists today. It was used to treat a variety of illnesses with varying results. Why it was done to this particular woman is undetermined, along with whether or not it contributed to her death. It may have been done as a way of unsuccessfully treating eclampsia. However, studying other bodies from that period reveals that hardly anyone had the same surgery, which only adds to the enigma of why she got one. Number 24. Destinies of the Soul, Paris, France. When Arsène Houssaye completed his novel in 1879, he could have never predicted what would come of it. He gave Destinies of the Soul to Ludovic Boulan, who felt that a book about the soul deserved a matching exterior. He went to the psychiatric hospital where he was a student, selected a woman who just passed, and used her flesh to bind it. It was officially acquired by Harvard in 1954, where it remained for decades before the skin was removed in 2024. Questions about the woman whose skin was used and how the skin was removed may never be answered. While we may never know her name, there's no question that she has a permanent and macabre legacy. Number 23. Portal to the Underworld, Judean Hills, Israel. Proof of the afterlife is always being sought after. Since 2009, Teomim Cave has been excavated by a team of archaeologists. What they have found is chilling. Countless oil lamps, trinkets, a secret passage, and even ancient skulls, with some dating back millennia.
The site's proven to be a treasure trove of artifacts from close to 2,000 years ago, and the finds have led to interesting theories about the cave's purpose at that time.
The collection of items led some researchers to theorize that this cave was viewed as a portal to the underworld. They speculated that necromancers used the cave as a way of carrying out their dark rituals, including bringing people back from the beyond.
Now we have the traces of what looks like a pagan ritual with more than 120 oil lamps uncovered.
Their claims haven't been proven yet, but there's still plenty more to find, so perhaps we will have an answer someday. Number 22. The Priest of Pacopampa, Pacopampa, Peru. This is another archaeological site that's been invaluable in teaching us about our past. Buried beneath 6 layers of earth lay a body surrounded by offerings.
A team of Peruvian and Japanese archaeologists said they found the 3,000-year-old grave at the Pacopampa archaeological site. In addition to human remains, researchers also found artifacts, including musical instruments and snail shells.
It was clear he had influence, and he was dubbed the Priest of Pacopampa. His body, which dates back to 1000 BC, was proof that the ancient Peruvian civilization had defined leaders. What wasn't understood was his positioning. He'd been laid face down and buried in a large, deep tomb, a position which had never been seen in Peru up until that point.
Work at the site continues as archaeologists hope to learn more about the people who lived there thousands of years ago.
It all leads to even more questions about the priest and what he may have been like in life. Number 21. Sandby Borg Massacre, Sudra, Sandby, Sweden. Even mass acts of violence can be shrouded in ambiguity. In 2010, excavation began on Sandbyborg, and excavators were soon met with the sight of just over a dozen bodies.
At the ancient ring fort of Sandbyborg, dozens of pre-Viking warriors were brutally killed and left to rot where they fell. The death toll is shocking.
They hadn't been buried, making it appear that they'd been slaughtered where they stood, and then were left to rot. Who perpetrated the attack and why is a complete mystery. Some initially believed it could have been a robbery. However, the discovery of ornate jewelry disproved that. Others theorized it was simply a random act of brutality, or perhaps even a series of interpersonal murders, which is corroborated by the execution-style killings.
These archaeologists are quite literally standing on top of an ancient murder site.
DNA testing has begun to reveal more about the victims, which may someday give insight into their attackers as well. Number 20. The Starving of Saqqara, Egypt. Ancient art has been discovered plenty of times, and many have been traced back to a specific time period or civilization. However, there are some pieces that still remain elusive, and none are more unsettling than the Starving of Saqqara. Depicting 2 figures with enlarged heads and malnourished forms, the seemingly simple statue is yet to be understood. It hails from an indeterminable age and creator, and the inspiration behind it is equally obscure. There's even an undeciphered inscription on the back, adding to the uncertainty. Some experts believe it could be a representation of 2 captives that have been conquered. No one has yet been able to understand the strange work, keeping this particular piece of history just outside our grasp. Number 19. Headless Vikings, Dorset, England.
Workmen on the Weymouth Relief Road dug back into a hawthorn hedge. They uncovered a secret that was 1,000 years old.
Decapitation has been a standard execution practice throughout the past and in many cultures. That doesn't make finding those on the receiving end any less upsetting. In 2009, archaeologists came across the carcasses of dozens of Vikings who had all been messily beheaded.
You see 50 plus skeletons, but not just skeletons, just the bodies lying strewn, thrown into a pit, and the heads separate in a pile to one side, which immediately tells you they've been beheaded. You know, this is not a mass grave of people who died naturally. This is an execution.
It's unknown why they met such violent fates or even when the mass punishment took place. The leading theory is that they were attempted invaders who were made into the ultimate example. It was made even darker when they realized that there were 54 bodies but only 51 heads at the scene, meaning the remaining 3 had been taken. The pit is a testament to the extreme methods of a bygone era. Number 18. Surrey Ghost Car, Surrey, England. Not every unexplained find comes from a bygone nation. There are some from the 21st century that remain a mystery, and one may be proof of a real-life ghost story. In 2002, police in Surrey received reports of a crash on the A3. They went to investigate and were perplexed when they couldn't locate the supposed accident. After traveling down the road, they were met with a truly chilling sight: a vehicle with a deceased motorist inside. Further examinations revealed that the victim was a young man who disappeared months beforehand. While that was solved, there's no logical explanation for the non-existent crash that had initially been reported. While the authorities claim it was a coincidence, others are convinced it was paranormal activity. Number 17. Rujm, el-Hiri, Golan Heights, Syria.
A temple? A burial site? Or perhaps an observatory? There's no clear answer to the question of what Rujm el-Hiri in the Golan Heights, close to the Syrian border, was used for.
Despite their size, some megaliths remain a complete historical mystery. Hidden within Syria, the enormous Rujm el-Hiri has both amazed and unsettled those who observe it. It consists of several large stone circles with intricate patterns and a mound in the center.
Rujm el-Hiri means in Arabic, stone heap of the wild cat. Experts say it's at least 5,000 years old and associate it with the Chalcolithic era. It's made out of more than 40,000 basalt stones.
Although it was first surveyed in the 1960s, the purpose behind it is undetermined. Various hypotheses have been brought forward, ranging from a site for various religious purposes to a place where the dead were laid out to be picked clean by birds before being disposed of.
On the one hand, it's very hard to identify it, to understand when it was built. On the other hand, anyone can tell anything.
The area has been looted, ridding it of all other physical evidence. Without that, it's hard to discern much about the structure's use, making it a potentially permanent mystery. Number 16. Tiny Coffins, Arthur Seat, Scotland.
What on earth? What happened in Edinburgh that would occasion the burial of 17 little coffins with 17 little figures?
Modern tech and devoted archaeological teams have led to better understanding of many discoveries made in the 20th and 21st centuries. Some items obtained before these advancements aren't quite as lucky. In 1836, a group of boys entered a cave where they found tiny coffins with odd figurines inside.
According to contemporary accounts, they were supposedly laid out in a layer of 8 and another layer of 8 in one on top. The boys, as all boys do, played with them, and it would appear that some of them were damaged, in fact destroyed. So all we have now, and all we have on display, are 8 left.
It was clear they'd been there for some time already. At the time, people were baffled, and that hasn't changed. The best estimate is that they're visual renditions of the infamous Burke and Hare murders, committed a decade prior. Even that is contested, as the killers primarily targeted women, whereas the figures in the coffins depict men.
Another theory is that they represent people or sailors who died at sea.
Regardless of our progress, we're still just as lost as those who originally found them. Number 15. Xin Zhui's corpse, Hunan, China.
This is the best preserved ancient body ever found.
The process of decay is constant, yet still unpredictable, even when it comes to people. The corpse of noblewoman Xin Zhui is one of the best examples. She died as far back as 168 BCE, and yet her body is remarkably well preserved. When she was unearthed, she still had her flesh and organs, making it possible for an autopsy to be performed.
This is something you never even find in Egypt. Tutankhamun, for example, comes out as a sort of shriveled up little desiccated corpse compared with the extraordinary preservation of this woman.
Her body had been carefully prepared using different methods. You'd think that would be a perfect explanation for her condition. Yet other cadavers buried in similar fashion had still decayed, making her a true anomaly. Analysts are still doing all they can to study her and ensure her preservation, meaning she could be just as intact another millennia from now.
There was a consensus that immortality was there to be taken, if only you could get the formula right.
Number 14. Codex Gigas, Bohemia, Czech Republic. Upon first glance, this may not seem like anything other than a large book, but in reality, the massive 3-foot-long behemoth holds much more significance. The Codex Gigas contains a translation of the Bible amongst other works, and a now infamous visual depiction of Satan.
But if you open the book with the devil exposed, the opposite page is an illustration of a heavenly city. Perhaps Herman was making a point. Live a life of sin, and this is the fella you meet after you die.
The truth behind the manuscript's origins is murky at best. According to legend, it was written by a monk on death row who vowed to record all of human knowledge in a single night in exchange for his life. The only issue? An attempted rewrite revealed that the text alone would take 2 decades of non-stop writing, disproving the original claims and leaving the author's true identity one of history's best-kept secrets.
One thing for sure is that it was, and still is, the largest illustrated medieval manuscript ever created. And yes, inside it was a drawing of the devil.
Number 13. Pit of Arms, Bergheim, France. Finding any body parts is already stomach-turning. Realizing there's an even amount only adds to the distress. In the 2010s, researchers in France came across a pit containing intact carcasses on top of a pile of severed arms. It's been deduced that the arms primarily belonged to adults and that they were tossed in soon after removal. Exactly who the victims were is still unspecified, along with what happened to them following the sudden amputation. The bodies being dated back to the late Neolithic period only adds to the confusion, as there are no other recorded cases of limb removal from that time. The only explanation offered up is that it was an act of ancient war, but even that is still questioned. Number 12. Shackled Skeletons, Athens, Greece.
This is no ordinary resting place. Archaeologists are still working to determine who they are and why they are there.
The days of the past weren't always easy to live in. Some findings make that all the more clear, such as the 2016 discovery of a mass grave in Athens. However, the skeletons weren't just buried. All 80 were shackled in place and appeared to be screaming. In spite of their positioning, they had all been buried in a traditionally respectful way. While DNA testing could eventually reveal more, for now experts have put forth the idea that they had attempted a coup and paid the price for their failure.
The first reliably dated event in Athenian history in the 7th century BC. A failed coup attempt led by the noble Cylon, whose supporters were executed after he fled.
They may not know for sure, but one thing is clear: the gruesome sight is pure nightmare fuel for practically everyone that lays eyes on it. Number 11. Cursed Stolen Amethyst, Kanpur, India.
Alan was convinced the gem was cursed.
Rampant colonialism of the past has ensured that many artifacts have been removed from their countries of origin, sometimes permanently. There may be one case where a stolen item supposedly fought back. After an amethyst was taken from Kanpur, India, its new owner was met with this swift downfall. That was only the beginning. Each keeper was met with tragedy, from taking their own life to losing their voice. Its final keeper, Edward Heron Allen, even tried throwing it away, and it still somehow made its way back to him. Desperate for relief, he had it locked away until after his own passing. Now it sits safely within a museum, but some still stay away, believing that the supposed curse is still in place.
Coming home, we drove through the most amazing storm that I've ever witnessed. Lightning was flashing on both sides of the car, and my wife was shouting at me, "Throw that damn jewel away, you should never have brought it with you."
Number 10. A Porpoise's Grave, Chapelle d'Omhui, Guernsey. Unearthing a grave is unnerving enough, but seeing anything other than a person inside is even scarier. While studying the island Chapelle d'Omhui, one archaeologist came across one of the strangest finds in recent times. A grave containing the shriveled remnants of a porpoise. The animal was consumed during medieval times, but given the close proximity to the sea, it would have been much easier for the remains to be disposed of there. For one to not only be buried, but given a proper grave is unheard of and unsettling.
Certainly some effort was made was taken to sort of cut it out nicely.
Whether it was simply forgotten or stashed there by a monk who wasn't allowed to indulge in the meal, the truth behind the creature's odd final resting place may never be revealed.
We shall see what we can get out of the remains itself.
Number 9. The Unidentified Man of Sligo, Sligo, Ireland. It may seem impossible to disappear in this day and age, but some still manage to slip through the cracks. In 2009, an unidentified man was found in Sligo, Ireland, and thanks to his efforts to disguise his name and hometown, he may remain that way. Posing under the name Peter Bergman, he traveled to the town where he was seen in person and captured on CCTV.
It appears that he used a false name. He certainly used a false address. There are no passports, or have been no passports issued to a male of that name, fitting that description or that age profile, anywhere in mainland Europe, America and South America.
Even with the extensive footage, who he is and how he passed remain an enigma.
It was clear from early morning that he had a purple plastic carrier bag. He would have that each time that he left the hotel, going out in and around Sligo. And when he returned on each occasion, he didn't appear to be carrying any bag.
Though he washed up on shore, there were no signs of drowning. Foul play was also ruled out. In the years since, no family or friends have come forward, and the case was never extended beyond Ireland, meaning he may remain anonymous forever.
He may have had the belief that his remains would have been washed out to sea and may never have been found.
Number 8. Mass grave, Ashkelon, Israel. Some discoveries lead to excitement, but others are simply harrowing. While exploring the sewers beneath a Roman bathhouse in Ashkelon, one man found what he initially believed were chicken bones. As he found more, he came to the horrific realization that instead of birds, they actually belonged to multiple babies. When he took them to an anthropologist, it was found that they had all been healthy and less than a week old before dying. While infanticide was common in that period, most were carried out via exposure rather than being intentionally harmed. The gut-wrenching area serves as an unfortunate reminder that even the most vulnerable members of society could still be treated with abject cruelty. Number 7. Otzi the Iceman, Utztal Alps, Austria.
He's the oldest human specimen we have that is so complete.
He's so well preserved. He continues to generate this body of information.
There are some missing links within our evolution, but each find makes it easier to fill them in. That still doesn't make it any less creepy to come across a mummified form, especially one as preserved as Otzi. He's in such good shape that when he was first spotted, it was assumed that he had recently died. In reality, he lived thousands of years ago, making him Europe's oldest known natural human mummy. His cause of death is widely contested. Some argue that he succumbed to the elements, while others have insisted he bled out.
A radiologist reviewing his x-rays spotted something strange that had escaped everyone else's notice. An arrowhead lodged deep in the Iceman's shoulder.
The theories don't just begin and end with his expiration. The detective of other people's blood on his garments has revealed he resorted to violence in an effort to survive.
What's incredible about the Otzi story is that as technology's gotten better and better, it's the gift that keeps on giving. We can keep going back to this sample and it yields new mysteries and new insights.
Number 6. Lake of Skeletons, Rupkund, India.
For most of the year, the lake's waters are frozen. But during the summer months, as the snow and ice slowly melt away, a bizarre spectacle is revealed.
When you think about the contents of a lake, you picture fish, seaweed, and maybe garbage, not a large cluster of bones. Yet over 300 deceased people have been found inside the Lake Rupkund since 1942. It was first assumed that Japanese forces were the culprit until an investigation uncovered that they were much older than originally believed. More questions were unearthed as more remains were pulled from the body of water. Some were dated as far back as 800 CE, and many were from different locations.
We have thousands of human bones scattered around the shores of this lake, and that really is something which is exceptional.
The scariest part? Plenty of skeletons still remain in the lake and can be seen when the ice melts, reminding people of their mysterious demise and terrifying tourists at the same time. Number 5. Screaming Mummy, Theban Necropolis, Egypt.
In Egyptian theology, a man couldn't enter the afterlife without his name. So there's something disturbing about the fact that he was left anonymous.
Several mummies have been recovered in Egypt, but not all have been identified. If the theory surrounding one ends up being true, then it will be physical proof of a supposed coup. Referred to as Unknown Man E, this mummy has become known for one defining feature: a permanent scream. It can be assumed that whoever died did so in anguish.
His punishment, the worst of all ancient Egyptian curses, to deny him happiness in the afterlife. He was never properly mummified.
It's suggested that it could be the body of Pentawere, a prince who plotted to assassinate his own father and was forced to take his own life after his trial.
Some experts have concluded that for the Screaming Man to be buried in this manner means that whoever he was must have died in disgrace.
With more DNA testing, the answer should soon be clear, potentially solving one of history's oldest mysteries. Number 4. Neanderthal Cannibalism, Goye Caves, Belgium. We're still learning more about some of our earliest known ancestors, making every new bit of information vital, even if it's unsavory.
The Neanderthals lived in these very caves around 40,000 years ago. Their remains were discovered in the middle of the 19th century.
In the Goye Caves of Belgium, researchers stumbled upon stomach-turning evidence of early life there. They came across assorted parts belonging to at least 5 different people, but in unusual condition. They had been skinned and filleted, revealing clear signs of cannibalistic activity. While the verdict is still up for debate, reindeer scraps were located under the same condition.
The bones were fractured like the bones from reindeer and horses that were found at the entrance of the cave, probably to extract the marrow. We found traces of cutting on these bones to disarticulate, to remove the flesh.
If they were cannibalized, then it would be one of the earliest confirmed cases of the practice. Nevertheless, even if it is confirmed, that would still leave the question of whether it was done out of desperation or plain desire for human flesh. Number 3. Severed human feet. British Columbia, Canada.
We begin tonight with a mystery unfolding on a BC beach. A human foot has once again been discovered.
This has become one of the most puzzling, grotesque mysteries of recent times. Since 2007, over a dozen severed feet have washed up on the shore of North America. Each one is still wearing a shoe, adding to the suspicious appearance.
There was a foot, what appeared at that point to be a foot in a sock in a running shoe.
It's the 13th foot found in British Columbia since 2007.
Some have been identified, but others still remain elusive to this day. The one silver lining is that authorities have ruled out foul play. But that still doesn't explain how they were removed so easily while undecomposed. The bizarre phenomena has even led to people leaving decoy feet on the beach, bringing about even more questions. With a foot showing up as recently as 2023, it's clear this modern-day conundrum is far from over. Number 2. Jigsaw skeleton. Outer Hebrides, Scotland. Most cadavers can enter the identification process shortly after being found. In this case, that may be impossible. It all started when a mummy in the fetal position was discovered in 2001. As it continued to be worked on, scientists began to notice odd discrepancies. They were soon met with a shocking realization. What they thought had been a single woman was actually 3 separate people combined together.
So you were surprised?
To put it mildly, if anyone had asked me, I would have just dismissed it and said, complete fantasy.
Yeah.
And even when we came up with our results initially, some people were very skeptical.
What's even more upsetting is that the bodies had been dead for some time before being sewn together. Historians believe this could be a sign of a lesser-known mummification ritual, and we hope they're right, because any alternative would be even more horrifying.
This is actually them figuring out what happens when you die. It isn't the end. There's something beyond, but it's also a series of quite complicated states.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Wearing skulls. Sligo, Ecuador. It doesn't get more chilling than this. In times of war, everyone's affected, even those too young to understand what's happening. In the 2010s, an ancient site in Ecuador was being excavated, leading to a truly grotesque find. They had found the corpses of 2 infants wearing the skulls of other children as helmets. The reasons behind the bizarre practice are still up in the air, but some believe it could have been an attempt at protecting their souls post-mortem. However, that still doesn't explain where or how they got the skulls, and if they had to harm anyone in the process. The macabre discovery is sickening and fascinating all at once, proving how little we truly know about life back then. Which of these discoveries unsettled you the most? Let us know in the comments below.
But if the motive behind the mass murder at Sandby Borg wasn't military or a robbery, what was it?